Hi students, I'm Dr. Sarah Boiseneau. Welcome to English 110 Online. I'm happy to have you all here and I hope that we're going to have a great semester. I'm going to make the class as easy to navigate as I can. In fact, the first week of class I will make available a screencast of me navigating the course and narrating what you can find in each section. As always, if you have any questions, please do let me know. I'm going to have a discussion board that's pinned to the top of the discussion section called Q&A. If you have any questions at any time, you can post there, and if that way your fellow students can respond as well as me, and that might be helpful not only to you but to other classmates who had the same question or didn't even know they had that question. So please do avail yourself of that. So as you'll see, and the first thing you should do is read our syllabus. Okay, it's on the home page. I've tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. Go ahead and read through that, get some, see what the expectations are for the class, see how this will be paced and all that sort of thing. This first week, we are going to be beginning our podcast. You're not making a podcast. We're listening to American Public Media's In the Dark Season 2, which focuses on the trials. There were 6 of them, of an African-American gentleman named Curtis Flowers, who was accused, tried, and convicted. I don't want to say a whole lot more than that because if you're not familiar with the case, I'll ruin the podcast, but of a quadruple murder at a furniture store at which he had briefly been employed in Winona, Mississippi. If you are not familiar with podcasts as a genre, I recommend you click the link that I have embedded in our syllabus that just says, what is a podcast? What can I expect? Why podcasts? So we're actually not using a textbook this semester. We're going to use the podcast, which is a true crime podcast, that focuses on a single case. And then I'm going to supplement that with sort of more textbooky kind of materials, links to things about how do I cite this in MLA style? What's a thesis statement? How do I write one? And so that's all linked for you, so you don't have to worry about a textbook. So this first week, you're going to listen to the first episode of In the Dark. I have linked to the website for that podcast. You can go listen to it on that website on your computer, or you can subscribe to the podcast. If you're someone who likes podcasts and listens to them and you want to, or even if you don't, if you have an iPhone, you can do it through Apple Podcasts. Spotify has a podcast service. Any number of platforms have podcast services where you can download directly to your phone and listen while you're on the go. However, even if you are listening on your mobile device, and don't worry, I reiterate all this in writing on the course webpage as well. Even if you download the podcast episodes to your mobile device, I highly encourage you to click on and scroll through the page for each episode, because there is supplemental information, there are photos, there are maps, there are biographies of victims and suspects and all sorts of things. That's going to sort of just make the podcast that much richer and your understanding of it that much richer. So this first week, we are really working toward we're going to introduce your only assignment this week is going to be due on Friday, August 7th, and it's just a discussion post where you introduce yourself to me and your classmates and you give your initial reactions to the podcast. So it asks you to introduce yourself and then answer the following questions in complete sentences and be sure to proofread your response for typographical errors. I'm not grading necessarily for, polished writing. These are kind of thoughts sort of more off the top of your head in these discussion posts more than they would be when we get to formal essays. But you do want to make sure that you are writing in professional standard written English and that you're proofreading, to make sure that it's not sloppy and that your classmates can understand it and all that. So it says, have you ever listened to a podcast before? If so, which ones? What is your initial impression of In the Dark? What questions do you have so far about anything related to this class? And then it says, all discussion posts are graded out of 20 with up to 10 points available for answering each part of the discussion prompt and another 10 points for demonstrating that you've read, watched, etc. the assignment material. So I have a rubric I'm going to use to grade these discussion posts that is broken down the way I just described. So you'll want to make sure you answer all parts of the question, okay? And you want to make sure that you are demonstrating that you're being specific enough about how you're talking about the podcast or whatever else I assign in a given week, that it's clear to me that you're listening to the podcast and reading the supplemental materials, right? So we don't want vague responses. We don't just want, oh, I thought it was pretty interesting. Okay, interesting how? What did you like? What was interesting? Okay. So first week's pretty light. We're just gonna listen to the first podcast episode, read the syllabus, write the first discussion post. In our first module, we are working toward a summary and response exploratory essay. So the main skill that I want you to get out of this first module, and I'll post a video every week, so I'll keep reiterating, what's the point? Why are we doing this? So the main skill we're gonna get out of this module is summary, okay? Because summary, I think, is kind of foundational to academic success. Next week, our first full week, you are going to be, that's the week of August 10th, you are going to be reading about, what are summaries, what are characteristics of effective summaries. But as you probably know, generally speaking, that summary is taking a larger amount of information and condensing it to its main points. And in academic writing, we use summary all the time for all kinds of different purposes when we're working with other people's ideas and words, okay? Summary is a powerful study tool. If you can read something and then summarize it in your own words, you're demonstrating that you have understood that material, right? If you can put it in your own words, it means you understand it. So summary, that is our main skill we're gonna be working on in Module 1. It sounds simple, but it's actually hard. And you'll notice, I think, if you're like me, a lot of times in papers, we're tempted to maybe quote more than we need to because we're just not real sure how to condense something down to its most important points. And that's what we're gonna work on, okay? So you're gonna have some practice with that in some of the discussion posts. I'll talk about that more next week. And then we're gonna culminate the week of August 24th by turning in a summary and response exploratory essay where you're going to summarize the first 3 episodes. That's a lot, right? It's a lot in a short, like 2-page paper, right? You're gonna summarize those and then you're gonna respond to them. What do you think about it? So we're going to spend the next few weeks talking about, well, how to identify major points from sort of extraneous details, okay? So I look forward to seeing you online. I'm going to be posting videos every week. Sometimes I might do 2 a week if I feel like there's something else that needs to be addressed. But please, Canvas Messenger, email, Canvas chat during office hours, any of those are wonderful, wonderful times, wonderful ways to get in touch with me, and I will respond to those as quickly as I can. And I'll see you online. Take care.